Well. A lot of fears were quelled in this nation today when it comes to a certain position on the hockey rink, and we're excited to talk about that. Clarkey, how you doing? We're back with more instigating. What's up, brother?
Good. I texted you a couple things last weekend, and I got one response back, leave me alone, and then you never responded after that. What's
We'll
going
talk
on?
about that. We'll talk
Okay.
about that too. I don't want to talk about that right now, but we will address the Super Bowl. I'm not a coward, and I will
Well,
not
you
run
didn't
away
answer
from
my
what happened.
text.
I answered you once, and we will address that situation. But before we do that, we want to dig into a bunch of news, including Canada's opening game at the Olympics. We're recording this on Thursday, February 12th. Watched them play earlier this morning, and we thought, let's bring in our guy because there's a lot to touch on, too. It's February. We're going to touch on some baseball. Okay, because there's some baseball news that we need to address in this country. We thought we'd reach out to our buddy, all-around sports guy of Gaming News Canada, the Parlay, longtime referee, longtime official with a number of different institutions, including
NHLPA
Canada, NHLPA, our friend and yours, Mr. Steve McAllister. Stevie Mac, how you doing, brother?
Good, and don't forget teammate of Chris Clark on the fan charity celebrity hockey team. Probably my crowning achievement in this world.
Probably.
I would certainly think so. I've heard that from many people in this industry. I want your take.
Ryan saw me play last year, by the way, and I
saw you play. You were amazing. You were fantastic.
I remember saying that. Hey, not to get off the beaten path, guys, but Clarkey, I was watching the Olympics last night, and our buddy Brian Stemmel was doing the color commentary for alpine skiing, and not only the guy is, I think he's one of the best color commentators out there. I mean, I don't watch skiing at all except during the Olympics. He's outstanding. He might be as good a hockey player. He was one of our best 2 or 3 players in those fan celebrity teams.
He was, yeah, he was good. We had a few celebrities come out and play well. Yeah, it was a fun time, but it was an awful long time ago.
Yeah, also the late Mark Curtin played in some of those games for us. God rest his soul.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and you two, of course, are involved. So the word celebrity, very operative there.
We signed autographs after games, Ryan.
I bet you did, brother.
We were the eye candy, Ryan. We were the eye candy.
Yeah.
I completely understand that. Completely understand. I want your take, Steve, on what we saw out of this character today. And, there was a lot of controversy for some when this gentleman, Jordan Binnington, ended up still making Team Canada. And he did the same thing today that he did at the Four Nations. Lots of work left in this tournament, obviously. A ho-hum tidy 5-0 shutout against the Czechs today. Are you still worried about Binnington? Should we be worried about him after that?
Yeah, I think there's still some question marks. I think it was his net for the first game, and especially since Logan Thompson and I'm trying to remember who the third goalie is.
Darcy Kemper,
sorry. Those guys have kind of blown hot and cold like Binnington this season, but he was pretty solid today. He made the saves he had to, but I think I don't think there was ever any doubt that Binnington was going to play the first game.
You think he'll play the second?
No, good back to back.
Yeah, good.
It is
question.
Back to back. You're right.
I like guys the idea of getting Thompson or Kemper in for a game just so you kind of know what you have, and again, you may get an injury or maybe maybe Binnington does struggle in the game, and then at least you have somebody else to put in there.
It's so tough though when you're not exactly playing tough teams. Like Czech is good team. They own us in the
team
in the World Juniors. They've owned Canada, but Switzerland tomorrow, and then is it France in the last of the round robin? So they could show well in those games, but when it comes against the big guys, either Sweden, Finland, or US, that's where you need your goalie to shine, isn't it?
Yeah, just watching the game today, guys, it took me back to Sochi in 2014 when Carey Price was in goal for Canada that tournament, and that was at the time when Carey Price was easily the number 1 goalie in the world. And I just remember how confident he played in that tournament, and he just made it looked like he was sitting in the back of the car reading the Saturday Toronto Star. Like every save looked so easy, he didn't give up any rebounds, and steered pucks into corners, and I don't know if Canada is going to get that type of goaltending, but with that lineup, I thought the Czechs would give them a real tough game today, but this is a very, very good hockey team.
I was more of a Sunday Sun kind of guy, but it also shows that Biddington playing on a weak St. Louis team will look vulnerable with a strong team like Canada. Shut out, no problem.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, Chris. And one thing I was surprised at, I did see some time on ice numbers this afternoon, and I was a little surprised that the fourth line didn't play more. And I'm thinking that's going to change in these next two games, where, as you mentioned, Chris, they are going to play lesser competition. So I think it is an opportunity to play that fourth line a little more.
I would certainly agree. On that note, I wanted to ask you this too, both you guys, really, because this is always a talking point, for Canada, but especially, after that first practice and everybody kind of seeing how the lines were. What did you make of the lines? I really liked them. I mean, I thought that all of the lines were effective. They were all well balanced and had a little bit of everything, and all the lines made an impact in one way or another. Yeah, you'd like to see that fourth one get out there a little more, but at the same time, like Bo Horvat scored. I really liked the lineup. I thought it was really, really good. Steve, your thoughts on it first?
Yeah, I think again, I think there's some eyebrows raised with Wilson and Celebrini with McDavid at the beginning, but those guys look great. Celebrini gets a goal. Tom Wilson does what Tom Wilson does, and I think it's a deep lineup. I love the fact that John Cooper had Bo Horvat killing some penalties. This is a guy who's having a great year with the Islanders, and and defensively, I was really impressed with Thomas Harley and Drew Doughty, and I think Harley's a guy we don't get to see very much of him up here with him playing in Dallas, and I think, Shea Theodore looked comfortable. And again, we didn't get to see him a lot at the Four Nations Cup last year because he was hurt on, I think, the first or second shift. We'll see how badly injured Josh Morrissey is, but this is still a pretty deep blue line.
Yeah, great, Clarkey. What did you think of the lines?
Well, I will admit I had to work today, so I did see the lines, but I didn't see a lot of the game to be able to comment on the lines, how they played.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's I don't understand how people can say that this team isn't favored to win. Like, I hear people saying it's, Team USA, and I get it. They're a good team too. But when I see the lines and see the players and see the talent on this Team Canada, I don't think Team USA can match them. I really don't. What are the odds on this one, McAllister?
No, I think listen, Canada has to be the favorite based on what happened at the Four Nations tournament. They won it.
Well, yeah.
And again, maybe three of us are a bit biased because we're Canadian. I did watch the third period of the US Latvia game this afternoon, and again, it's a hard game to judge. The Latvians are pretty weak. But yeah, this Canada team, like, it's so bloody deep. And I think, Chris, even if you're in a situation where maybe you do have to tweak your lines a little bit, I mean, like, what kind of, it's not like you're moving David Kampf up to the third line. I mean, you're
exactly,
you're trying to figure out where Brad Marchand might be the best fit with, or you're trying to figure out who should play with Connor McDavid or Nathan McKinnon. I mean, it's a really, really deep lineup. And, I'm not even mentioning Cale Makar. And yeah, this is a good team. And I'm a huge John Cooper fan. And I just think, he's a bit of an X factor in this tournament. I mean, I know guys always say that coaches don't win hockey games, but I really believe that John Cooper's he's relevant here.
Yeah.
I agree with what you said, Clarkey, and our buddy, and we're going to get him on the show soon. He's launched a new show, Sid Sixero. He was going off on that earlier today about how he was like, look, I'm not being polite about this. We're better than America, and we're going to win this tournament. Like, what, are we supposed to be afraid of JT Miller? Like, and I agreed with him. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to bag on JT Miller. Like, he's obviously a fantastic hockey player, but when I look down our lineup here in Canada, like, I'm not afraid of JT Miller. I'm not afraid of the Tkachuk brothers.
Would you be more afraid of Jason Robertson?
No.
Well,
no,
not having him on the lineup. You don't think that's going to hurt them?
Well, I will say this, and Steve, I'd love your thoughts on this. If Billy Guerin, if they don't win gold, because that is their expectation, like NBC's basically already crowned the Americans champs. Like they think they're walking to the gold medal. They're so much deeper than Canada. They're not. Secret's out. They're not. It's not a well-kept secret. But they left Robertson at home. They left Caulfield at home. They left like 3 goal guys at home and brought guys like JT Miller instead, who, by all accounts, when you listen to people in the industry right now, is a bit of a cancer in the room. And I hate to use that term, but that's what people are calling this guy. Look where the Rangers are. Look what happened to the Canucks. So, yeah, when you put it that way, Clarkey, like, would I be a little more afraid of them on the power play? I guess so, but that's your boy's job. He's supposed to do that stuff, right? But Steve, I'm just not afraid of these guys. I'm not afraid of them.
No, I'm probably more afraid of Sid Seixeiro than I am of the Americans, to be honest, guys.
Yeah.
I think, it's interesting. When you mention Ryan, leaving Robertson and Caulfield at home, you look at the Canadians lineup, and these are two teams that have been, I think, set up to play the game any way you want to play. If you get into a U.S.-Canada gold medal game, those two lineups can grind and bump with anybody. And I do think Canada has a bit of an edge in finesse. And listen, I love the addition of Nick Suzuki. I think that was the guy's having a great year in Montreal. He scored a goal today. And I do think, guys like Wilson, Bennett, and Marchand, they bring a little bit of spice, and even Drew Doughty, a little bit of spice that you're going to need in some of these games, especially because you're not playing on Olympic-sized ice this time.
Yeah, that's a great point too. And
did you guys? Let me just interject there. Did you guys notice watching the game today the 3 feet short that the ice surface was? Like, did you see any discernible differences? No. And
I think Chris Cuthbert made a great point, Chris, during the broadcast about, there's one time where in the NHL you played games in the Boston Garden, which was a sandbox, and
Buffalo.
Buffalo was a small ice surface. I think the old Chicago Stadium wasn't 200 by 85. I mean, these are the best players in the world. If you tell them they got to go out and play on a football field, they're going to figure out a way to do it. So that had no impact on the game at all. And again, I hate to go back to 2014, but I'll do it again. Like, perhaps the most effective line in 2014 was the Corey Perry, Ryan Getzlaff, Jamie Benn line. And I remember watching I think it was a quarterfinal game against Latvia. I was lucky enough to be sitting close to the glass, and just watching those guys cycle the puck and just grind down the Latvian defense. And I think if you get in the game Americans, it's going to be a low scoring game. And guys like Wilson and Bennett I think are going to have an impact in a game like that. And the Americans, I'm sure, looking back and say, well, we've got the Tkachuk brothers, and Tage Thompson's a big body. But I just like the Canadian lineup a little bit better. And I don't think that's biased. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
Steve, do you think we'll ever see the day that we have two Canadian teams playing?
No.
Why not? You get two bobsled teams. Why not two hockey teams? Why? They're better than
because it's a
majority of teams.
Because it's a gimmick, and we don't need to do that because we're Canada.
I'd like to see it though.
Yeah, I think what you could do, guys, is if I'm the PA in the NHL, I'd look at having two Canadian teams in a World Cup tournament, or Four Nations, or whatever they're going to call it moving forward, because that's probably a better solution than having the rookie team,
sure.
Whatever that team was called back in. When was it now?
Team North America.
Team North America, which again, it was, they caught lightning in a bottle because they had all these dynamic young players at the time, like Matthews and McDavid. That's not going to happen. Those things happen once in a generation. So the idea of having two Canadian teams in a tournament like that's an argument I would make. But I agree with you, Ryan. I think that when it comes to the Olympics, it's a country by country, best on best, and Canada should only have one entry for hockey.
I agree. I want to put this back up because this young man here, I mean, he scored the first goal for Canada. Macklin Celebrini, I mean, has this kid ever just become something unbelievable in his first couple years in pro hockey? It's just absolutely outrageous what he's doing. Looked amazing out there, and that line in particular got a lot of attention, obviously pre-tournament. You've already brought up my guy Tom Wilson, Macklin Celebrini up there with McJesus. They were flying, and McDavid set the tone early with a big hit, and I laughed after the game. Brad Marchand, he thought it was Wilson, and Wilson had to turn and go, no, that was McDavid that laid that hit early in the game. It was amazing. And then there's Celebrini showing up, and you can really tell that, look, I don't consider myself an expert at anything, guys, but you can tell people that don't really watch a lot of hockey and they watch it at the Olympics, because people were texting me going, how's Canada not blowing Czechia out 3-0 already after one? I'm like, did you watch the game? They dominated Czechia. It could have been 10-0 if not for Dostal, who's a young star in his own right on that Ducks team. They absolutely ran Czechia's show on the wall. And that's John Cooper hockey. And that's why I'm not afraid of Sweden. I'm not afraid of Finland, who had a big toe stub themselves to start this tournament. And I'm not afraid of the Americans, because look at that wall work. Did you guys even notice David Pastrnak out there? I didn't even notice him. No, he was completely irrelevant.
Yeah, I know Clarkey was selling half a dozen cars a day, but so I'll answer on his behalf. But no, I mean, Pastrnak was pretty invisible. I thought Netcash was okay.
Yeah, he had a couple moments.
But Canada, the Canadian team smothered these guys. And with regards to Celebrini, Ryan, Chris and I, we both know Brian Burke pretty well, and I've got a ton of respect for Brian, but I really didn't understand Brian's comment before the Olympics that, I think Brian said something to the effect that this isn't a minor hockey tournament, and you can't take young. Why would you even consider taking young guys? I mean, Celebrini is one of the 10 best players in the NHL right now, period, full stop. The guy is a leader on a San Jose Sharks team that's, I think you can say no longer in rebuild mode. They're a good hockey team. And this guy also has the seal of approval from guys like McKinnon and Crosby and McDavid. This guy's a real deal. It would have been insane not to have Celebrini on this team. Am I not right?
You're absolutely right.
He at last look, he's accounted for 56% of the Sharks' offense. It's unbelievable what he's done. And quickly, because we could talk about the Olympics forever here, and how good Canada looked, and the women had a nice bounce back today too against Finland. That rough game against the States, boy oh boy. There's a situation where I actually am afraid of the United States, and Canada's going to have to. We'll see what the diagnosis is on Marie-Philippe Poulin, who we're all pulling for. But I wanted to, before we moved on to another big story in this country, I just needed to take a quick moment to be a little petty with everybody out there, because it honestly, I'm happy for it, but it made me sick seeing all of the praise for my guy Tom Wilson online today. Because I remember I kept the receipts. I remember all of the nonsense of people, including my co-host on an old show of ours. This guy's a goon. They got to kick him out of the league. He's a loser. He can't play hockey. Played top line right wing on a Stanley Cup winner. Now he's top line right winger on Team Canada. And everybody all of a sudden is like, boy, isn't it great you got Tommy Wilson? Isn't it so
I never
cool
said
you got Tommy.
He shouldn't be in the league.
That.
No.
You never said that.
No, well, you just said my co-host. You just said my co-host. Now listen to me. I also said to you a couple of weeks ago, I'm looking forward to finally cheering for this guy. So don't throw that in my face.
Easy there, Sid.
He's from Toronto. He's a good player.
Yeah, but that's my problem. I'm just being a little petty here with people, because now all of a sudden
petty with other people, not me.
Well, all of a sudden he's a great player, and I remember I saw a lot of pretty familiar looking Twitter accounts today just praised
Not
this
mine.
guy, and I went, "You
Not
disgusting pig." I
mine.
remember what you said about this guy.
Well, I definitely said he's a dirty player because he is. Well, stats will back that up. You don't need Team Corsi to tell you that much.
All of a sudden, everybody loves Tom Wilson, and it's real nice.
Yeah, you love him when he's on your team, just like Darcy Tucker, just like all the agitators. And well, I won't say the word, but there's for sure.
Sam. Yeah,
you love him when
just
he's on your
I'd
team.
get that out of the way.
There's probably some guys you hate too that are good players.
I will say, the proof will be in the pudding. Like, I think the three of us agree that we are going to see a Canada-U.S. gold medal game, barring something crazy. And that'll be, unlike the Four Nations Cup, you're not going to be able to fight at the drop of the puck. And so you wonder, and discipline and poise is going to be an important part of a game like that if it happens. And so, how are the Tkachuk brothers going to behave? How is Sam Bennett going to behave? How's Brad Marchand going to behave? Is Tom Wilson going to behave? So there's going to be the proof's going to be in the pudding, and that to me that'll be the measuring stick.
I think Canada can match them in that category, and I don't think they'll instigate anything. But if one of the Tkachuk brothers does something stupid, look out.
I think Wilson answered that question today because him and Gudas were going at it pretty hard after Gudas caught a little chunk of Celebrini, and Wilson went over, ran him over, and they had a little chat and they skated away, and no harm, no foul. So I think that question was answered, guys.
How disappointing will it be if it's not Canada? And
that'll be awful.
Like the Sweden always has some
spice. It would lose some spice.
Yeah. Hey, Ryan, can I just say something quickly about the women's tournament?
Please.
Yeah, I posted this on Twitter yesterday after the game, and again, not patting myself on the back here, but I've been saying this for a while. Is we do need a serious reset of the women's hockey program in this country. We're way behind the U.S. right now. Mm-hmm. We're either way behind the U.S. or we're not picking the right players to go to world championships and Olympic games, because this Canadian team cannot match the Americans in skating and skill right now. It's not even close.
Sorry, I was just going to ask you, is it the players they picked? Is it the older group they picked? Are there younger players they should have picked, or is this the best talent?
You know what, Chris? I'm not quite sure, because again, I don't follow what's going on with the younger groups, but I just think, and I saw this to some extent about 10, 15 years ago with hockey development, where I felt the U.S. had passed us in Canada because they were putting a lot more emphasis on skating and skill. And again, part of that is that the U.S. does have a lot more resources than we have in this country, but we have some flaws with our not just hockey, but with our sports system right now. And this trickles down the U.S. as well. We're too much emphasis on winning. We don't spend enough time developing people. When it comes to hockey, it's no surprise that we don't develop goalies in this country, because we have kids in Pee Wee, Bantam, and Midget AAA hockey where the number one goalie plays 70% of the games, which is insane. And with women's hockey, the one thing I pointed out on Twitter is that there are going to be less and less opportunities for young Canadian women to go to the NCAA, because there's so many good players in the U.S. now. So it's incumbent on us to find a way to do a better job with development at the grassroots level. And I also think there's an opportunity at the U Sports level for U Sports to be more involved with developing talent in this country. And obviously the PWHL is going to help as well. So anyway, I got on my soapbox there for a second, guys. I apologize.
To discuss for sure.
I completely agree. And it's something that I've heard echoed in a lot of circles around rinks, man. I mean, it's not a catastrophe right now, but it could be if it's ignored long enough. Right. So,
I haven't been around boys hockey, just to go back to boys, at all, ever, with two daughters, but I'm casually interested now because my daughter Amanda, her boyfriend Dan, is a coach with the Toronto Red Wings, and there's these super teams, the Marlies one of them, who are just stacked with the best player, have the best goalie who sees 8 shots a game. The fourth line guy is playing 3 minutes a game while he could be on a different team getting 20 plus minutes a game and really performing. And I don't know. I just don't like it.
It's a conversation I have with a lot of people here in Kincardine about hockey. And, when it comes to AAA, like don't be in a rush to send your kids to play AAA hockey. If to the minor hockey parents listening or watching this show, if you've got a chance to stay in Kincardine or Wingham or Exeter, Chris, where you are now, and play on the top two lines or play in a team with 10 skaters and get tons of ice time, stay there and play that. And, don't pay $10,000 to go play in a AAA team. And as you just said, Chris, be a third defense pair, be a backup goaltender, or be a third line winger who doesn't get to kill penalties, doesn't get to play the power play. And there are lots of examples of guys who have played single A and double A hockey and eventually end up in the National Hockey League or played in Europe or had an incredible experience playing hockey. So there's no need to rush to play AAA hockey.
And when you look at Team Canada now, it doesn't surprise, like Toronto-born guys who played in the GTHL. Like you got Crosby and McKinnon from out east. You got Newmarket with McDavid. Like those guys played on probably not super teams, and
Cale Makar played in the
play.
AHL.
Yeah,
Cale Makar played in the AHL. He didn't even play Major Junior. Right? Remember how bad Colorado got criticized when they drafted him? They were like, "Really, a kid out of the AJHL?" Turns out, it's you don't need one set path to get somewhere.
I saw Makar guys playing the RBC Cup for the AJHL. I think it was with the Brooks Bandits.
Yep.
In 2018 or 19, Chris, there with our old friend Colin Campbell, and I like back then you saw this guy was playing like 30 minutes a game for that team, and you can see he was going to be something special. I mean, I certainly didn't see him being what he is today, but you knew this guy was going to be a good hockey player.
Yeah.
And it turns out he is. So yeah, not a catastrophe yet, but I want to change subjects now, gentlemen. And,
Steve, how much time you got? You good here for a bit?
Yeah, I'm good.
You got a game tonight. We don't want you got to do your pre. Well, I have a game tonight too, by the way, in Exeter.
I'll get you guys out of here. Don't worry about it. All right.
And for the record, I'm in Grand Bend. I don't live in Exeter. Okay.
Sorry.
Grand Bend. I work in Exeter.
Exeter's a poor forward, Commissioner. What can I say?
Yeah, there you go, Gary. I want to talk and change subjects here quickly to the subject of baseball. Now, follow along with me here, gentlemen, because I need to take you on a bit of a journey here. I'm going to show you an image here. I was doing some research. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but if you Google the greatest heist in Canadian history, what you'll find typically is a reference to a situation that happened in 2011 and 2012 where a bunch of guys in Quebec stole $30 million worth of Canadian maple syrup. It was almost 3,000 tons that these guys made away with. It was called the Great Golden Heist. It's got a couple other names, but if you Google the biggest heist in Canadian history, typically this is what comes up. I would like to posit to you guys that I actually think the greatest heist in Canadian history was committed by this gentleman. And his name is Anthony Santander, because what he's done is stolen $92.5 million from the Toronto Blue Jays and fans across this great nation. I can't believe the absolute insanity that has occurred with this gentleman. Played 52 games last year, did nothing. They couldn't even roster him in the World Series. Remember, they had to petition Major League Baseball to let them put Joey Loperfido on the roster. This guy signed a deal with the Toronto Blue Jays after hitting 44 jacks in Baltimore, and he has absolutely pilfered Ross Atkins, Ed Rogers, and Mark Shapiro and his teammates. This guy is a complete non-factor, and it comes out as pitchers and catchers report this week as John Schneider, and this was the best part. They get John Schneider on there to do a media call about all these injuries, and they go, and the PR guy goes, "Okay, John, go ahead," and you could hear him audibly sigh. He's had it with this guy. This guy's a joker, and he's now out 5 to 6 months with a pectoral tear or something like that. I don't care what it is. This guy is a criminal element, and I don't know what the Jays need to do to make this guy disappear, But Steve, I don't know what you thought of this. And then we find out Bowden Francis is having Tommy John surgery, and Shane Bieber all of a sudden has forearm stiffness. This is a joke. Bassett left. I don't care about that. Well, this is an absolute joke. And I need to ask you, and both of you, I need you to chime in because you would know better than me. Is this guy the worst free agent signing in the history of this team? Because I don't even know who's close.
Well, I'll first say you probably hurt your chance of getting a loan from Santander to buy a car from Clarkey, Ryan.
Don't care.
For that
car would explode.
I care.
Explode.
Yeah,
the car would explode.
You just cost Clarkey commission for crying out loud. With that attitude.
If Anthony Santander tried to sell me a car, he'd sell me the car and then a couple weeks later go, by the way, there's no radiator in there. The left tire is rubbing and the exhaust doesn't work. That's what Anthony Santander would do if he was a car salesman. Go ahead, Clarkey.
Well, the first guy I think of who maybe have gone down this road that Santander went down was back in the late 80s when it wasn't a signing, but the Jays acquired Al Leiter. And Mr. Blisterfinger he hardly pitched at all and sat around and collected his money. And then when he was fine, he left and went somewhere else. And if I remember correctly, I don't think Beeston was a fan of Al Leiter, but that's the only guy I can think of who might come close to doing what Santander just did. Santander.
It won't be nearly even close to that kind of money, but I think Chris, I think Ken Daly, when Ken Daly signed with the Blue Jays in the early 90s out of St. Louis, I don't think he pitched a whole lot. I think he had some serious arm problems and they had to shut Daly down.
Yeah.
It's all the
timing that's obviously the problem here, right? And I heard some guys say, he's not on company time in the off season. He's not going to have an operation on non-company time. He's going to enjoy himself, and then company time, that's when I'll have my operation, which is terrible.
Yeah, it's one hand, Ryan, it's really disappointing, but on the other hand, I talked to Jeff Nixon from CBC's website for a story on the Jays earlier this week, and I think even with Santander not around, John Schneider's biggest challenge may be how to get guys enough playing time. And when you look at this lineup, and again, who knows if Ernie Clement's going to be able to duplicate what he did last year? And is David Schneider the guy we saw in the second half of the season and not the first half of the season? And what does that, how does Addison Barger follow up on what he did last year? But if you look at this team right now, I think, Schneider's challenge is going to be getting guys enough playing time. And I still really like this lineup. And I wonder, even if Santander was healthy, like where does he fit in this lineup as an everyday player? And, you wonder, like, will the Blue Jays at some point, and again, I'm not an expert on the Major League Baseball collective bargaining agreement, if they'll just hand this guy a check and tell him to get out of town.
It's unbelievable what he's done. It's a highway robbery, a Wild West train robbery that this guy's pulled off. $92.5 million. And again,
we're only year 2 in, aren't we? He's got 3 years left. So he can earn his 92 in the next 3 years.
It's an absolutely psychotic, roundabout here.
I also feel that things are sort of falling in a little bit on the Jays. We lose out on a couple of big free agents. Bo leaves, and Bassett leaves, and Santander's hurt, and
that kind of prompts the question, Clarkey,
crumbling a little bit.
Can they retain the AL East crown? Because, look, they had a bunch of guys, including a bunch of young guys like Clement, like Barger, like Lucas, who's an older guy that finally caught some magic at the major league level. Mm-hmm. They had a bunch of guys that all had career years. Dusty old George Springer showed up and did something that no one saw coming. Counting on that for a second straight year? No. I don't know about that. So I'm real nervous, especially with this Bieber news. That was actually the biggest thing, because Santander, to me, isn't even a Blue Jay. That's how little he's played and how little impact he's had. I don't even consider him a Blue Jay. So that just pissed me off because the financials of it. And it's not my money, but you know what I mean? The thing that got me nervous was this Bieber stuff. This guy just came off Tommy John, pitched real well for them in the playoffs and spots. And now he's showing up and he's got a bum forearm, and Bowden Francis, who didn't really factor into the team last year, but a promising young guy. Like, now he's got a busted elbow. Their best prospect, Ricky Tiedemann, has already had loads of elbow and shoulder issues. Like, I look at it and I'm like, are we really going to see everything go right for this lineup again? And their biggest addition to the lineup is Okamoto, who by all accounts a real good pro and a great player over there in the NPB. But that's what you're relying on here? I don't know, boys. I'm a little nervous, to be honest with you.
Boy, you two guys are a couple of Donnie Downers, I'll tell you.
Well,
I
everything went right last year.
Yeah, so everything went right. But if you look at the rest of the American League East, like the Yankees don't scare me. It seems to me that every Major League Baseball team has issues with starting pitching now. And even the Blue Jays last year probably used 10 to 12 guys in the starting rotation, right? And this is a team that still has Savage. Like, right now, Eric Lauer's not on the opening day starting rotation, which, it seems crazy to me. I thought the guy was lights out in the playoffs last year, and I think Bieber's just a minor setback. That doesn't worry me right now. I still like this team a lot. I think this team captured Canada's heart last year because of the way they play. Those guys are back. The Bichette thing, in hindsight, it looks like he was never going to come back. And for whatever reason, the relationship broke down between the front office and Bichette. And there is a question, there's a big question about how do you replace, what do you have, 190 hits, and that was missing the last 30 games of the regular season. Again, if you're a glass half empty guy, I worry about Alejandro Kirk, and can he handle that kind of a workload again? But I think there's a lot to like about this team, and I think John Schneider really matured as a manager last year. But it's going to come down to pitching, especially starting pitching. And every team, with the exception maybe the Dodgers, every team in Major League Baseball faces that question coming into spring training.
It worries me that Isaiah Kiner-Falefa run home could have been like the closest we came to winning a World Series. And you mentioned about Bo Bichette and the front office getting a little bit, not on the same page maybe. And then Kiner-Falefa, I guess he signed with Boston, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he signed a one-year deal with the Red Sox.
Said yesterday, if I could do it all over again, I definitely would have got a couple of steps out. Great. But you've got to do what the organization wants. That's been the thing there with runners in the situation. They always keep the runner close at third. And then he went, do we have the next part, Ryan? No.
We have the next part too.
Perfect.
Where,
go ahead,
and this is from our friend Rob Longley's piece in the Toronto Sun, which you can of course read. Kiner-Falefa went on to say, my only regret is the way everything went down in the aftermath of the Dodgers, of course, extra innings win in Game 7. We don't need to relive that. If it was going to be such a big deal, Kiner-Falefa said, it would have been nice to have the camera in my face and a chance to speak. It blew up without me getting a proper interview. I thought that was unfair. Everybody was going off without me being able to talk about the play, which was tough. At the end of the day, I did what I was told. We win as a team and lose as a team. There was lots of opportunities to win before that, and we didn't do it. And
so I just want to ask Steve, though, as a PR guy, I don't know. How do you shut a guy up like that who wants to talk? Doesn't he go and say, I want to get out in front of this?
Yeah, one problem I have today, Chris, and again, you and I probably still have some friends who work in communications for sports franchises, but it really is a sore point with me. And most of the cases, I do not blame the communications people. I blame the people above them.
No doubt.
But communication staffs, for the most part, have become obstructionists and not facilitators.
Yep.
And I'd like to think, Chris, when you and I first met each other, and I was doing public media relations for the NHLPA in the 90s, I said to the people I work with at the PA that even though the PA paid me, I worked as much for the media as I did for the Players Association. And I think that was the philosophy back then. I think of, Tom Manek, who hired me at Tennis Canada after the World Series in 93. John Lashray, the longtime Raptors vice president of communications. Like, I think that era of PR people, you work with the media, you had a relationship with the media. I think today's group, even me covering the gaming industry now, I reach out to people and I don't get a response to an email for 3 or 4 days. I mean, that to me, that's unprofessional, and you can't operate that way. And I don't think it's right. And again, I think the communications people deserve a little bit of blame, but I blame agents. I blame executives. I think media training is, for lack of a better word, it's a joke now. It's all about managing the media and coming out with messaging instead of being true to yourself.
Well, who was the Leaf got in a little hot water because they said he doesn't. Was it in the World Juniors? I can't remember. Or no, maybe it was even training camp. They said the guys told me not to give the media anything, but like that kind of thing just drives me crazy.
Yeah, well, remember Kadri with the Lupul thing. Oh, Lupul looks amazing. He looks fantastic. He's going to play. Can't wait to see him this year. Never saw him again. And rumor was the team was super mad at Nas for saying that.
And then, and guys, sometimes we're guilty in the media too, where we lambaste guys for not saying anything. And then when somebody does say something that makes for a great story, the same people are all over the guy for saying something controversial. I mean, we can't have our cake and eat it too. Like, it's
agree.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with in this situation. I respected his comments and the way he feels. And honestly, this comment again just kind of made me hate this front office. And again, I know we gave them their flowers.
I agree.
That World Series.
We agree.
But again,
Ryan,
it just feels again similar to the Barrios poll in Minnesota, where these guys don't want to have any egg on their face and take any responsibility for the way they run this stuff. It's like, okay, if you have an organizational policy where you hold a guy tight to third in that situation, great. But it's game 7 of the World Series. Literally the most do or die thing. By the way, it was the bottom of the 9th too.
Yes, it was the winning run.
You can't just go, okay, well, we'll just play this like any old base running situation. It's not any old base running situation. It's the bottom of the 9th in game 7 of the World friggin' Series.
Yeah.
And it makes me hate these guys, Steve. I can't do it.
I will say, guys, I think it's real easy to point at one play in that game. Like, the Jays had several chances to win that game.
You're right.
Even Kirk, Kirk hitting into the double plate and game 7. That, Kirk's the guy that usually takes an outside pitch and hits it the other way. Did it all season long. There were a lot of gaffes in that game. I mean, I was someone, I was down on the front office last year, but when you look at that lineup and what that team did, I think you have to give Ross Atkins a lot of credit. I mean,
you do,
and
no doubt,
and we did that,
and the Bichette, Bichette, I don't know what, I've yet to, maybe I missed it, but I've yet to see a story that's spelled out what happened with the relationship there. And I will say, I just saw a tweet today, like, the Blue Jays spend a lot of money, guys, on sports medicine and nutrition. Like, these guys, and again, we're probably, 3 of us probably have our issues with Ed Rogers, but you can't deny this team spends a lot of money and giving these players as much ammo and preparation and help as possible. And when it's funny, when they were talking about the Leafs a couple of weeks ago, and Treliving was taking some heat for dumping the sports science guy. I mean, the Blue Jays, they've got a baseball operations and a sports science department of about 70 people. And I think, listen, I'm going to take wait and see. And I fell in love with this team last year.
So did I. I spent way too much money. I went to way too many games.
Yeah, and I'm a traditionalist. I think this team played the game the way it's supposed to be played. I think John Schneider really evolved as a manager, and people were no longer talking about the Brios thing because of the way he managed that team. I'm gonna wait and see with this team, because I hope, as a baseball fan, I hope this team does come out and play the way they did last year, because it's when they play the way they did last year, it's a really fun team to watch.
No doubt.
It absolutely is, man. Yeah, we'll see. I'm optimistic.
Okay.
I love the team too, but
one thing before we let you go, Buck announced his retirement. Any Buck stories? Any interactions with Buck, Steve?
I don't. Just a classy guy, right, Chris? I mean, I think during my time there was still Tommy Hutton was doing a lot of the Jays games, and Tommy Hutton and Buck were cut from the same cloth. Just classy gentlemen, you guys you could always approach and have a conversation with, and the way that Buck's dealt with his cancer and with his illness. I mean, it's just so much dignity, and it's great that he was able to be part of that. Regardless of the Game 7 loss, that was a magical run. And, our kids 50 years from now will remember where they were the night of Game 7. That was such a neat experience. So I'm glad Buck was along for the ride, and hopefully this, his decision to retire is so he can spend some more time with his wife and his family, and he's going to be healthy, and he's going to be able to enjoy the kind of retirement that he deserves.
100%. Couldn't have said it better myself. We're all wishing Buck the very best and thank him for a long legacy of great broadcasting and playing days with the Jays, remember, as well. So, and coaching too. Steve, we really appreciate this. Remember to follow Gaming News Canada, stay up to date with everything going on in the sports betting world with our friend Steve McAllister here. Thanks so much for doing this, buddy.
Hey guys, always fun joining you. Thanks so much.
Absolutely, buddy. We'll chat again soon. Our friend Steve McAllister of Gaming News Canada and the Parlay, of course. And again, read his newsletter. He does great work for them if you want to stay up to date on what's going on gaming-wise in this country. Okay, sir, I know that you're really excited about this, and you want to give me a little win, buddy. Here.
I picked them to win. They just disappointed me. I thought it was terrible. I thought it was an awful game. I thought it was one of the worst Super Bowls I've seen in a long time. They were outmatched. They were outclassed. And the Seattle Seahawks are worthy champions. But I was just very bitterly disappointed in the game. And luckily, I was invited to a party. I had a great time at my Super Bowl party. Went to Caledonia, Ontario.
Great.
My daughter Amanda and Dan and Luke and Barlow and a whole bunch of people were there, and
great.
It was fun to watch. So this was my very first experience. I'm laughing because you'll know what I'm saying. Watching a game with people who had a lot of bets on the games, and they were just dying for things to happen in the game, and they didn't care who won or lost. They just wanted to make some money. So it was fun to watch that part of it for sure. How did you feel, bud?
I was pretty disappointed with it. Obviously, I'm a huge Patriots fan, but and flowers to the Seahawks. They're a great organization. They got a great fan base. I'm happy for Sam Darnold. What a tremendous story that is, and just further cements how dumb the New York Jets are. But I digress. Ultimately, after about a day, I was fine with it. Like, look, you got enough. Is it? Well, it's never enough, right? But
I know.
When you win, it's never enough. But I will say that I've been lucky with that franchise to experience a ton of winning. I had no idea in 2001 when I saw Brady. 2002 was that Super Bowl when he beat the greatest show on turf. I had no idea I was in line for 5 more. I was just excited as a little kid that my team won a Super Bowl. As disappointing as it was, and it was just an absolute rear end kicking at the hands of the dark side defense of the Seahawks. When I reflected on it a day later, I said at the start of this season, I would have been stoked if they were just 500.
Sure.
This team finished 4-13 the year before. It's a huge reason why Mike Vrabel won Coach of the Year. And I know everybody's kicking the crap out of Drake May right now and the weak schedule. The only reason anybody's saying that and taking a runny dump on this kid's head, who, by the way, everyone's like, oh, Bo Nix would have performed better. Bo Nix would have performed better? Bo Nix. Yeah. Okay. And everyone's going, oh, the left side of their line was terrible. Yeah, they had 2 rookies. They both played like crap. I feel terrible for those guys. Okay. But on the flip side of that, I could say, well, Drake May dragged that team with a brutal left side of their offensive line to a Super Bowl. And you can say, oh, well, they did it against a terrible schedule and blah, blah. They knocked off 3 top 5 defenses. I don't care that Jerry Stidham was playing for the Broncos in that game. Okay. The Patriots are in the same weather conditions. And Jerry Stidham, guess what? He's not on the field when Drake May is. That top 5 defense of the Broncos was. Drake May doesn't play Jerry Stidham. He doesn't play CJ Stroud. And I understand that the Patriots made those big plays on defense. At the end of the day, the signature plays in those wins were Drake May throws in a tight window to Stephon Diggs and the amazing throw and catch to Kayshon Boutte against the Texans. The only touchdown that was scored by the Patriots in the Broncos game was Drake May. And Drake May sealed the win on that naked bootleg run that was unscripted that he pulled off to seal the game. So all the biggest offensive plays that occurred on the route to the Super Bowl were Drake May. Do I wish he performed better? Yeah, of course. I'd love to be celebrating a 7th Super Bowl, but I love that all these experts online are going, this kid's the worst quarterback of all time. Okay, great. Well, I bet you a lot of franchises out there would love to drop him in there and drop Mike Vrabel in there. Like, Bills fans are having a party on this. I'm like, why are you guys celebrating? You guys didn't even come close.
They've never won.
Your superstar quarterback, who, by the way, when he was named MVP, had the 4th weakest schedule ever. Okay. Among MVP winners, 4th softest schedule in the league, not ever, the year he won. So, okay. Right. And he had a wide open throw to a guy to end that game against Denver, and he threw it at 180 feet over the guy's head, the Dawson Knox play. So I don't want to hear this dancing on the grave. Oh, are the Patriots the worst team in AFC history to make the Super Bowl? Shut up. You guys are losers. You remain losers. And crapping on Drake May because he didn't throw 50 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, which, by the way, Sam Darnold didn't exactly light it up either. Had a solid game. Didn't turn the ball over. And the Seahawks, full marks to them for winning. They didn't turn the ball over one single time in the playoffs. They're the first NFL team ever to do that. No turnovers.
Crazy.
Full marks for them. I can't wait to see what the Patriots do with all of this cap space. All of that cap space, and they made the Super Bowl with a second-year quarterback, a brutal left side of their offensive line, and a bunch of young studs on defense. I can't wait. I'm upset at what happened. I'm over it. I can't wait to see what they do. I can't wait to watch them shut all these haters up. It's just outrageous, the takes people had. But yeah, Seattle, full marks. Happy they won. It's good for them. Like, I have no problem with the Seahawks.
There you go.
Perfect. There you go. Congrats to our buddy Justin Pooney, my best friend Tevin, the giant Seahawks fan.
Be happy. Yep.
Absolutely great. Really cool. Great. And don't ever text me again during a championship moment with my team in it.
Hey, like, no problem.
Don't do that. Like,
I've got a lot of, not in a championship moment. Unfortunately, my team hasn't got there, but I've got a lot of moments where they're on the edge of losing or blowing a game and I get some texts. So let's call it even and let's cut it from here on out.
No, let's not call it even. If the Leafs were getting, if the Leafs were in game 7, if the Leafs were in game 7 of the Stanley Cup final,
anytime.
I don't. I just state things and go.
So.
Generally, what it is I'm taking your temperature. I want to know what you think of how bad.
And I was actually taking yours too, and I saw where you were at.
Well, excuse me. One of your texts, and I quote was, "This Drake May guy sucks," and sent me over the edge.
Did I say that?
That's what you said. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, he did in that game. And I thought he did.
He did
in that
suck.
game.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough for him. If the Leafs were losing 7-0 in game 7 of the Stanley Cup final, I wouldn't call you. I wouldn't text you for a week. It's just a gutless thing to do to somebody when you're in a championship, and it's not a good thing to do. I wouldn't do it to you. So, all right. Anyway, yeah, and that Super Bowl was, man, we've seen some bad ones involving the Seahawks. Like, remember when they absolutely curb stomped Denver that year? When Peyton Manning couldn't lift his shoulder over his head, like, and couldn't throw, like, that was, I still think that's the worst one, but I understand why people think this one's as bad because, like, there was no offense to speak of.
No, I said he's awful. I didn't say he sucks. I said he's awful.
What's the difference?
There's a difference.
Explain the difference to me.
The difference is you can be awful in a certain situation. If a guy sucks, he's definitely just sucking all time.
Okay, so but that's a childish take.
And your response was, leave me alone.
Yeah, I could have been really nasty, and I chose a higher road because I was real upset with my broadcast partner Mark Perry, another big Patriots fan, sitting right next to me on my couch. It's okay. Good. I forgive you, buddy. It's all good.
Okay.
I genuinely hope things work out for the Jays. Like,
I'm worried. I am worried.
I'm worried too, man.
And sometimes I feel like I'm, and I hate to say this because I'm not that kind of guy, but I feel I'm a better person on this show when I have to pick on Shapiro and Atkins because there's so much to pick on.
We've had a lot. We've had a lot of good.
And like the last month to me has been a disaster. It honestly has been a disaster. How many guys have they lost? How many have they brought in the last month? Nobody.
They missed out on a lot of big bats here.
And lost their own guys. Their best player arguably one of their best players for
their most consistent hitter.
Gone. Their shortstop. The key place to, like, I don't know.
Who is not a good defensive shortstop, and that's why he's playing third base.
Good luck with that.
For the Mets. I mean, to be somewhat fair, no one's moving Francisco Lindor out of short.
No.
And
he was going to play second probably for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I think so. I think
which would have been a better spot for him than third.
I think Jimenez kind of solidified himself as one of the best defenders in baseball.
Yeah.
He came up with some big hits in that.
He did, no doubt.
Andres Jimenez.
Let's not hit
Seattle
220
series.
Or 210. Let's hit 280. Then you'll be like,
that'd be really nice. That'd be really, really nice.
Yeah.
We'll see, man. I mean, again, I'm optimistic because, look, you've got your superstar, you got Vladdy, but they got to make sure that they're able to actually build something around this guy. And it's going to be on a couple of fronts. They have to draft better. Like, they still have a bottom 5 farm system.
And Ryan, the thing that worries me too is all this has happened right before training camp. Like Bassett.
Yeah, like it's not amazing.
Santander with
the Bassett thing is
it's gonna,
like we're talking about a 37. We're talking about a 37-year-old guy who's got a lot of mileage.
Yeah,
okay,
but he was very good last year.
He was solid for them, but keep in mind we are talking about a guy that was coming out of the bullpen. Gave them some great
playoffs.
Innings. Yeah, gave them some great.
We
innings.
Need to get to the playoffs.
Yes, he gave them some great innings. I will say, as we are about to wrap up the show here, and we're talking baseball again, I am shocked that he got $18.5 million. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what Baltimore is doing. I'll say this, like as nervous as I am for everything having to work out great for the Jays again, I will say I'm not afraid of Baltimore, and I'm not afraid of Tampa either. I don't know what's going on in Baltimore, but
they were one of the favorites going into last year, but they're not this year.
They were the betting favorite last year to win the division.
And the Jays weren't. So anything can happen. We know that.
Anything can happen, brother. Well, we're excited. Olympics are off and running for the hockey tournament. We love how Canada looks.
God, there's so much more I wanted to talk about.
Jays. I know, man. We're going to have to wait until next week. And
I wanted to talk about
a couple
coverage.
Weeks.
I wanted to talk about the coverage, the TV coverage of this Olympics. I'm confused. I don't know where to watch.
Okay, it's bouncing all over the place. It's bouncing all over the place. Well, you don't have to bounce all over the place to find this show. Remember, you can find us on all your favorite podcast apps, YouTube, Rogers TV. Follow us on socials at Instigating Pod. We'll be back next week with more Instigating with Clarkey and Drury.